$45.6 billion. That's how much operating profit Amazon Web Services generated in a single year. Meanwhile, the retail division you actually buy things from, the part of Amazon that ships packages to your door, barely broke even. If you think Amazon is a retail company, you've been looking at the wrong numbers. The product that made Jeff Bezos one of the wealthiest people in recorded economic history is not a book. It's not an Echo device. It's not even two-day delivery. It's something hiding in plain sight. A machine built on compounding infrastructure, behavioral psychology, and a strategy so long-term that Wall Street spent a decade convinced it would fail. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly how that machine works. Welcome to Mr. Finance, where money, power, and history collide, and nothing is ever as simple as it looks. It's 1994. Internet is new, commercial, and deeply chaotic. And the retail distribution model has a structural problem nobody has solved yet: physical scarcity. A traditional bookstore, even the biggest chains, even the industry-leading superstores run by Barnes & Noble, was constrained by shelf space. A flagship location might stock 175,000 unique titles. That sounds like a lot, until you realize there were over 3 million books in print globally. The overwhelming majority of what had been published simply did not exist as far as the average consumer was concerned, because no physical shelf anywhere near them chose to carry it. Real estate overhead, inventory carrying costs, localized demand forecasting. The economics of physical retail meant that if you lived outside a major city, if you wanted something niche, something foreign, something published 3 years ago and quietly still in print, you were mostly out of luck. The insight that launched everything was simple. An online storefront could theoretically display an infinite inventory without needing to maintain it on shelves in every city. In its earliest form, the company operated as a digital broker, routing orders to publishers and wholesalers, and shipping directly to consumers, bypassing the fixed costs of traditional retail entirely. This highlighted a fundamental economic principle that runs through everything Amazon does to this day. Markets disproportionately reward businesses that systematically remove scarcity from the value chain. By converting the retail shelf from a scarce physical asset into an infinite digital database, the company achieved a selection advantage that no physical competitor could match. But books weren't what made Amazon unstoppable. The choice of books as the launch category in 1995 was not born of literary passion. It was an analytical decision, almost clinical in its precision. The founder reportedly compiled a list of 20 potential product categories in 1994, narrowed them to 5 serious candidates: compact discs, computer hardware, computer software, videos, and books, and then ran the numbers. Books won for reasons that had nothing to do with storytelling. First, standardization. A book is one of the most commoditized consumer products that exists. A specific edition from one retailer is identical in content and quality to the same edition from any other. That eliminates the informational asymmetry that made early internet users hesitant to buy uninspected goods online. You don't need to feel the pages. Second, catalog depth. 3 million unique titles globally. No single competitor could stock more than a fraction. The virtual inventory model was maximally disruptive precisely here. Third, logistic simplicity. Books are durable, non-perishable, and easy to package. Their dense, predictable dimensions maximize space utilization within postal networks. The unit economics of shipping a book in 1995 were about as favorable as anything being shipped. Fourth, universal demand. Literature crosses every demographic and geographic boundary. There was no ceiling on the customer base. Amazon wasn't choosing a passion project. It was choosing a beachhead, a category that would let it validate its transaction systems, build a brand reputation, and accumulate a loyal customer database before repeating the formula everywhere else. And once it worked, that's exactly what it did. In 2001, the dot-com bubble had collapsed. Amazon's growth was stalling. Wall Street was impatient. The company was burning through cash, and had been since the beginning. And it was at this moment, when a lesser company would have pivoted to short-term profitability, that Amazon's leadership team sat down with business strategist Jim Collins and made the decision that changed everything. Collins introduced the concept of the flywheel. The idea that great companies don't rely on single breakthroughs but build self-reinforcing loops that generate compounding momentum over time. On the back of a napkin, leadership drew their version of it. It works like this. A relentless focus on lower prices and faster delivery drives a better customer experience. A better experience drives more traffic to the platform. More traffic attracts independent third-party sellers looking to access that demand. More sellers expand the overall product selection available. A larger selection further improves the experience, which drives more traffic. And as the whole system scales, it dilutes fixed costs. The fulfillment centers, the server farms, the logistics network, across a vastly larger volume. That cost reduction allows prices to fall further, injecting fresh energy back into the beginning of the cycle. Every rotation makes the next rotation faster. This is not a metaphor. It was the actual capital allocation framework behind every major decision the company made for the next 25 years. Every robotics initiative, every logistics expansion, every cloud service launch was evaluated on a single question. Does this accelerate the flywheel or impede it? What made this strategy so difficult for competitors to respond to was its self-concealing nature. From the outside, Amazon looked like a company perpetually on the edge of profitability, one bad quarter away from admitting the model didn't work. From the inside, every reinvested dollar was methodically compressing a future cost curve that rivals had no visibility into. By the time the damage became apparent to the industry, the gap was already irreversible. And here's where traditional competitors tried to respond. In the early 2010s, Walmart and Target poured billions into their own e-commerce platforms. They launched websites, acquired digital startups, and promised fast shipping. On paper, it looked like the right move, but they missed something fundamental. They were trying to replicate Amazon's retail interface without replicating the underlying cost structure. They still had thousands of physical stores with massive overhead. Their fulfillment networks were built for pallets and pallets of inventory, not individual packages to individual homes. Their logistics cost per unit was structurally higher. Walmart's operating margin today hovers around 4% to 5%. Amazon's retail margin is roughly comparable. But Amazon doesn't need retail to be profitable. It needs retail to be large. The data, the subscriptions, the advertising, the cloud infrastructure, those are where the real money lives. Walmart couldn't subsidize losses in one division with massive profits from another because it didn't have the second division. The attempt to compete was like trying to beat a chess grandmaster at his own game while he controls every piece on the board. Once again, a competitor thought it could match the visible model without building the invisible machine. Once again, the advantage only widened. The moment the model flipped was 2015. That was the year Amazon disclosed for the first time that AWS had become profitable. The company had been running the cloud division for nearly a decade without reporting its financials. When the numbers came out, the industry realized something. AWS was growing faster than retail. Its margins were an order of magnitude higher. And all that profit was being reinvested into, you guessed it, lower retail prices, faster shipping, and more warehouses. By 2025, the asymmetry had become impossible to ignore. Amazon's retail segments, North America and international combined, generated $588 billion in revenue. Impressive. Staggering even. And yet, they delivered only $34.35 billion in operating profit, an implied operating margin of 5.84%. Amazon Web Services generated $128.73 billion in revenue, and it delivered $45.6 billion in operating profit, an operating margin of 35.42%. A division that represents less than 18% of total revenue generates more than 57% of total operating profit. That asymmetry is the entire story. This pattern, using one highly profitable division to subsidize market expansion elsewhere, has a name. It's called cross-subsidization, and it has remade entire industries. Look at Uber. The ride-hailing division has never been consistently profitable. But Uber Eats, the food delivery arm, generates real margins. The company uses one to subsidize the other, all while both feed data into the same behavioral engine. Look at Apple. The iPhone is a mature product line with single-digit growth. But services, Apple Music, iCloud, the App Store, grew to over $100 billion in annual revenue with margins exceeding 70%. The hardware exists to lock you into the ecosystem. The services are where the cash flows. Look at Microsoft. In the 1990s, Windows was the profit engine. Today, Azure cloud services generate enormous margins, while Office 365 locks businesses into subscription relationships that renew automatically. Every era has its hidden profit center. What Amazon understood earlier than anyone is that the visible product is not the real product. The real product is the infrastructure that makes the visible product possible, and that infrastructure can be sold separately to anyone willing to pay. Let's zoom out and look at what's actually happening here. Amazon engineered a negative cash conversion cycle. And understanding this is like looking behind the curtain. The cash conversion cycle measures how long it takes a company to convert cash spent on inventory into cash collected from customers. A typical retailer operates with a positive cycle of 15 to 60 days, meaning they have to spend money before they make it back. They need constant working capital to fund the gap. Amazon engineered the opposite. In fiscal 2025, it reported a cash conversion cycle of negative 48 days. When a customer clicks Buy Now, Amazon collects the cash immediately. But because of its immense market leverage, it doesn't pay its suppliers for an average of 111 days. In between that float, billions of dollars of other people's money sits on Amazon's balance sheet as interest-free working capital, and it gets reinvested immediately. New warehouses, automation, AWS research and development. The company was not avoiding profit. It was converting profit into scale before the competition could catch up. This is the foundational mechanism of modern platform economics. The business doesn't need its own money to grow. It uses its customers' money and its suppliers' money. It sits at the center of the transaction flow, collecting fees on every exchange, extending its own payment terms, and reinvesting the float into assets that widen its moat. Once a company reaches sufficient scale, the economics become self-sustaining. The cost of capital for the platform is effectively zero because it's using other people's money. The cost of customer acquisition is negative because customers bring other customers. The cost of infrastructure dilution is asymptotic because every new user lowers the average cost. Think of money as a river. In traditional retail, money flows from consumer to retailer to supplier. Each stop takes time. Each stop has friction. Amazon built a dam in the middle of that river. It holds the water while everyone else waits downstream. And while they wait, Amazon uses that water to build more dams. The flywheel is not a metaphor for business growth. It's a metaphor for economic gravity. Once it reaches escape velocity, nothing can pull it back. Here's the uncomfortable truth that history teaches us over and over again. Power accumulates where the friction is lowest. Money flows to the point of least resistance. And once a system achieves critical mass, the forces that made it successful become the forces that protect it from competition. Amazon is not a retailer disguised as a technology company. It is a capital allocation machine disguised as a retailer, disguised as a cloud provider, disguised as an entertainment studio. Every layer reveals another layer beneath it. So what can we learn from this? Number one, look for the hidden profit center. When you study a business, a sector, or even your own career, don't just look at what's visible. Ask what's being subsidized and what's doing the subsidizing. The thing that seems free is almost never the real product. Number two, beware of sunk costs. Prime membership works because customers psychologically justify their spending to validate their subscription. That's human nature. We double down on decisions we've already made. Recognize that pattern in your own life. Are you buying something because you need it or because it makes a previous expense feel justified? Number three, scale is protection. In any competitive system, the entity with the lowest marginal cost wins. Amazon's logistics network delivers billions of packages cheaper than anyone else. The gap doesn't close over time, it widens. Understand where scale creates irreversible advantages in your field and invest there early. And finally, never confuse the visible with the real. The store you see on your phone is not the company. The infrastructure underneath it is. The same is true for most of the world's most powerful institutions. $45.6 billion in profit from a division most people have never thought about. A retail empire that doesn't need retail to survive. An operating system for the global economy, hiding inside a warehouse. History has the answers. If this gave you a new perspective, hit subscribe, because the story of money, power, and hidden engines, it's never what it looks like on the surface.